Hey guys, Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who. Last time around was The Impossible Planet. What was that one about?
Now, the only thing I'm remembering from it is that they were drilling down to get something, and it turns out that there was a big monster down there.
Yeah, so the Doctor and Rose arrive on this planet.
Oh.
There's...
By the black hole.
Yeah, it's somehow orbiting a black hole. There's a crew there that is drilling for some sort of energy source, basically whatever is keeping the planet there. And then creepy voices start happening all over the ship, and it turns out the devil has been sealed away on this planet, and the planet's orbit around the black hole has now ended, so it's now falling into the black hole, and the devil has been released, basically. So that's pretty much where we left off on a cliffhanger. So, yeah, that's pretty much that. I don't know if there's really anything else to say.
Well, we are recording this on Saturday, November 23rd.
Oh, yeah, I guess it is.
61 years ago today, I started watching Doctor Who.
Yep, as did a lot of, well, I guess a lot of people. I don't know. I mean, technically it wasn't a lot of people because there wasn't a lot of hype around it because of the whole Kennedy thing.
Yeah.
So the next week, in 7 days, then a lot of people started watching.
Yes.
And then 61 more years pass and a lot more people start watching. So, and now it's just infected our lives completely. I mean, we were watching a movie last night, and it basically had the asteroid that hits the Earth, and he brought up, it's like, oh yeah, well, you know, technically it wasn't even really an asteroid. It was Adric in the ship. And it's like, oh my gosh, I guess it's true, but so yeah. So Doctor Who, 61 years ago, became a part of everyone's lives for genuinely for the better, with like the 0.0001% for the worse, and it's a very low. But I think we've all been there. So yeah.
But I looked at some pictures this week that I have. We lived in the servants' quarters of a Victorian hunting lodge outside of Herringswell, there in East Anglia. My understanding, because I've talked with the Herringswell City Council, whatever they're called, that the place fell down years ago. But I have some pictures that they had from their archives. It's really a cool little place. Lived there for the first year, from the summer of 63 to summer 64. Then we moved into Mildenhall. Lived at number 3 Queensway. Any of you are in and around Mildenhall, drive by there. The house is still there. Used to be a pub from what I was told way back when. And then in the summer of 64, we got base housing on RAF Lakenheath. And we stayed there till we left and came back to the United States. It is on my bucket list to go back to England, not only to go back to those places, but I also want to see the Lemin family home down in Tavistock, a little town just north of Plymouth.
And it was definitely a thing we've been trying to do. You know, we've been looking forward to maybe someday going to the UK. And then this summer we took a flight to Portland, and I discovered I hate flying. So it throws a wrench in everything. And it's not just like I'm just annoyed by flying. Like, I got sick.
Physically ill, yes.
I got very sick from just the altitude, basically. Yeah. Just the rapid ascent and descent really did a number on me. So, I don't know.
Now, I would say, we could always take a cruise ship. But I have theoretically done that. When my father was first stationed overseas after World War II, we were stationed in a little town called Gey-sur-Argens, just outside of Chaumont in eastern France. But to get there, since transatlantic flight was not a big thing back then, we took a former U.S. transport ship called the SS Geiger, if I recall correctly. Left out of the port of New York City, arrived in Bremerhaven, Germany, 9 days later, following the reverse route of the route the Titanic would have taken. And again, we took it in March, so, still wintertime. I don't remember seeing any icebergs or anything, and I'm sure cruise lines have made it faster now, especially since we wouldn't be going to Germany, but I don't know if you'd want to spend 5 or 6 days on a ship across the North Atlantic either. So, just saying.
I don't know. If I'm not seasick, then I'll be fine. I've got video games and YouTube and stuff I can do. It's not the Middle Ages anymore.
Yeah.
But I do know, while there are a lot of, obviously, the big super, party cruise ships that go across both of the neighboring oceans, there is specifically an ocean liner that goes from New York to England, and I think it's called the Queen Mary, and it's specifically an ocean liner, which means it is way more equipped for actually being on the seas. Like, from the videos I've seen about it, is that, like, it is meant to handle the waves, basically. Like, you will barely feel the rocking of the boat, basically. And it's the only ocean liner left, and it was made in, like, 2002. So it is slightly getting up there in age, but...
It may be the Queen Mary 2, because if I recall, the original Queen Mary is now docked somewhere in San Diego.
Maybe.
And we've been to that Maritime Museum, but I don't remember seeing it there.
Yeah. But it is the last actual ocean liner. It from the videos I've seen, it has, like, some entertainment. Like, they have, like, a show that you can go to, and there's, like, dining and stuff like that. But it's not like a cruise ship where it's basically, a giant, disgusting amusement park on the ocean.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I've also seen more people say, like, I want there to be more. Like, they should bring ocean liners back. Yeah. Because there are a lot of people out there that just hate flying with a passion. And, I mean, even if I didn't get sick, it still wouldn't be... Like, flying is still not pleasant, At least, like, when we went to Portland, if I hadn't been sick, flying to Portland is relatively short. It takes, like, a couple hours on each flight, and so that's fine. Going across the ocean does take longer.
Yeah, our flight to Hawaii, if I recall, took about 11 hours.
Yeah.
But we didn't go from the West Coast. We booked the flight, and it only had one stopover, but that stopover was in Minneapolis, which is literally north and slightly east of Oklahoma. So it was like a 3-hour flight to Minneapolis, and then from Minneapolis all the way out to Honolulu. So
yeah. Now, that was a long time ago, and this was back before apparently I get altitude sickness. So, but nowadays, I don't know what happened to me, but flights do not agree with me, and it was incredibly rough. So, I don't know, maybe I'll take the ocean liner and I'll meet you there. We'll schedule it all out, and then on the day that I'm supposed to arrive in England, you guys fly over. It'll be fine. So, I don't know, but yeah, maybe someday. Maybe someday we'll get over to the UK, and then you can hear my jokes live within distance of punching my face. So
I have a friend who traveled to England a couple of years back, and they were going through the southwest, down through Devon and Cornwall, and they went through Tavistock, and he said that they looked in the registry of the town cemetery, and there's just dozens of people named Lamin. So, shout out, tip of the hat to all the old folks, all the old family still living there in Tavistock. If you happen to know any of them, let them know that we said hi.
Yeah, so... and for anyone who's curious about the ocean liner, I think it also has, like, a 1.5 to 2 year waiting list. So it's definitely, like, the boat enthusiasts and the people that just cannot take a plane at all, they've kind of filled it all up. So if you're wanting to take a trip overseas, you have to really plan in advance. So so if you're at the end of college here in the US or the UK and you're thinking you're going to move to the other place, go ahead and start booking that in your sophomore year. By the time you graduate, your ticket will be ready. So,
anyway,
We're back on to
The Satan Pit.
the Satan Pit today.
Sounds like
So
a great name for an episode.
sounds like a
There's
great
a-
name for a garage band.
There was a very weird movie, must come out in the early to mid 60s, which very much like the Andromeda strain did a couple of years later. It was called The Satan Bug, and it was about a virus that was highly contagious and kind of, predated all this stuff with both the original Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome and then the sudden acute respiratory syndrome, which later became the coronavirus. So, Satan Bug, if you ever get a chance to look that up on IMDb.
Well, yeah. So we might as well just jump right into this one.
So in the comments, people said blue is going forward or backwards in time, and then when it switches over, it's either going backward or forward in time.
It's one or the other.
That's one of the accepted ideas there.
Still, I've never thought about it before in all 7 or 8 years I've been watching the show.
You just accepted one was blue and one was red.
Meh.
One is the Democratic time tunnel, and the other is the Republican time tunnel.
Yeah.
Open fire!
Finally!
They've got maps. How many of them? All of them. All 50. Out of the way. Out of the way! But they're armed. It's the interface device. I don't know how, but they're using it as a weapon.
God dang it.
All I've got is a bolt gun with all of one bolt. I could take out a grand total of 1 ood. Fat lot of good that is. Give the emergency.
We should go down. I'd go. What about you?
Oh, in a second, but then again. That is so human. Where angels fear to tread. Even now,
Fools rush in, where angels fear to tread.
Meh.
That feeling you get, eh?
And what is the Doctor if not a fool?
Right at the back of your head. That impulse. That strange little impulse. That mad little voice saying, go on, go on, go on. Go over, go on.
Alternatively, it could be the hair standing up on the back of your neck telling you that it's dangerous.
Meh.
If you are the beast, then answer me this. Which one? The Archivets, Orthodoxy, Christianity, Pash, New Judaism, Sanklar, Church of the Tin Vagabond. Which devil are you?
All of them. All of them.
Or the truth.
Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster.
This one knows me. The valiant child who will die in battle so very soon.
So what does that mean?
That thing is playing on very basic fears. Darkness, childhood nightmares, all that stuff.
But that's how the devil works.
Or a good psychologist.
How did you know about my father?
What do you know about the pit?
Nothing. We can't even translate the language.
Right.
Hold on, maybe.
What is it?
Since that thing was the summer head, it's like letters make no sense.
Well, get to work. Anything you can translate, just anything. As for you, Danny
good.
boy, you're in charge of the Ude. Any way of stopping them?
Well, I don't know.
Then find out. The sooner we get control of base, the sooner we can get the Doctor out. Now get going.
Good job, Rose.
That should hold it. How's it going?
Fine. Should work. Doesn't feel like such a good idea now.
I've told you before. I've done this rappelling.
Let it. Get down. Okay then. Lower me down.
Well, here we go then.
Alright. You got 10 miles.
Not your best angle, Danny.
Oi, stop it.
No, could be worse.
Can't you hurry up?
I'm working on half power here.
Stop complaining.
Mr. Jefferson said stop complaining.
I heard.
He heard.
The air's getting a bit thin.
He's complaining now.
I heard.
Oh, Danny, is that you?
I'm not exactly happy.
I'm just moving the air. I've got to get the air in.
Just open it, sir.
Where are they? Are they close?
No, I can't tell. I can't see them. The computer doesn't register Ood as proper life forms.
Freaking computer. Ugh. Just pile up enough bodies, they won't get through.
Lack of air seems more natural than, well, let's say, death by Ood.
Ugh.
I'd appreciate it, sir.
Report 39.2.
Ah, dang it.
You did it.
Good.
You get representations of the Horned Beast right across the universe. Myths and legends of a million worlds. Earth, Draconia, Constantine, Deimos,
Yeah.
the Khalid God of War. Same image over and over again. Maybe that idea came from somewhere.
It was the Khalid God of War.
This is the original. Does that make it real? Does that make it the actual devil?
Well, if that's what you want to believe.
Well, it's like Santa
Maybe
Claus.
that's what the devil is, man. An idea.
There was a Saint Nick.
Yeah, classics. They get a devil.
No, not as such. Just the things that men do.
Same thing in the end.
Yeah.
What about you?
I believe I haven't seen everything. I don't know. It's funny, isn't it?
I'd love to hear Time
Things
Lord
you make up,
mythology.
the rules. That thing said it came from beyond the universe, I'd believe it, but before the universe, impossible.
Did that one just move?
It's the telepathic field.
Kick it to be sure.
Reasserting itself.
Move it. Get to the rocket. Move!
Yuck. Another happy landing. It was weirdly the most cheerful rocket launch I've ever seen.
Genie in a jar?
Maybe that's the key.
I don't think these have the genie from Aladdin.
On the gate, on the bars.
Now, there's the bad version of the genie called the Ifrit.
Hold on. Wait a minute, let me. Oh!
Yes!
Long time ago. Before the universe, after side was in between, doesn't matter. Prism is perfect. It's absolute. It's eternal. Oh, yes! Open the prism, the gravity field collapses. This planet falls into the black hole. You escape, you die. Brilliant! I'll have to sacrifice Rose.
Free to die! You're going into that black hole and I'm riding with you.
I am the rage and the bile and the ferocity. I am the prince and the thrall of the agony. I am the sin and the fear and the darkness.
Go to hell. But we stopped him. That's what the doctor would have done.
Great consolation.
We're going in.
Oh, the Ood. Oh, let's go.
Now, first things first, is your road glider on board?
I'm here, it's me! Where are you?
I'm just towing you home. Gravity, schmavity, I'll be all back eventually. Right. Glad they did. A couple of minutes will be nice and
And the next time you get curious about something, what's the point? We'll just go blundering in.
Meh.
The human race.
Doctor, what did you find down there? That creature, what was it?
I don't know. Never did decipher that writing. But that's good. Day I know everything. Might as well stop.
What do you think it was? Really?
I think we beat it.
I think it's dead.
Officer Tobias Z, deceased, with honours. 43K2.1. Also, Ood 1 Alpha 1, deceased, with honours. Ood 1 Alpha 2, deceased.
Alrighty. Oof. Well, we did it. We stopped the devil.
But you can't stop an idea.
Meh.
Again,
You could throw an idea into a black hole.
I've mentioned this before in the sequel novel to The Exorcist, where not the devil, but one of the devil's disciples, devil's assistants, whatever, Legion, that's what the book is called. It discusses the fact that when Lucifer was cast out of heaven, he broke into an infinite number of pieces. And that from the beginning of that being cast out of heaven, all of those pieces have been trying to recombine themselves so that they could get back to battling God in heaven. That was the theory. So, the devil, like you said, you can't kill an idea. There are literally trillions, quadrillions of little pieces of that thought everywhere in the universe. And it may take billions of years for them to coalesce to a point where a civilization says there is simply an evil. So anyway, I like the fact that they left it open-ended. They defeated this particular version by casting it into the black hole, but it's still out there.
Yeah. So, and honestly, it's an interesting pair of episodes because it's this sort of horror space. It's almost kind of like Alien a bit of the trapped on the place and you got to get out of there before the creature gets you, while also being kind of thoughtful about what is belief, what do you believe in, should there be any belief or anything, or what is the devil of that belief, like how for some people it is just the devil, it's just the entity of the devil, and he went through all sorts of things, down to even the Khaled god of war, which that's just a piece of Dalek lore. I don't even remember that from when I watched that, but there's all sorts of things, and then you have Ida, who's just well, what devil does she have? It's not really this metaphorical, mystical, mythical devil. It's just the darkness of man. Yeah, which can honestly just kind of be the same thing. That reminds me of I think Wonder Woman, the Wonder Woman movie, where it's like the entire movie she's thinking, spoilers, kind of, the entire movie she's thinking that, well, the reason the world is at war is because of Ares, only to get to the end and realize, yes, Ares is involved in it, but he's not controlling everything. He just has just the tiniest little whisper in someone's ear, and it just cascades from there. So
it really kind of all goes back to, again, if you believe in the theory of evolution, that the reason why human beings are above the rest of the animal world is because we have reason. We don't act simply on instinct, we act on reason. We have this social contract that we all have to follow certain rules to get along. But there is no denying the fact that in everyone we still have animal instincts. And in some people, their animal instincts, whether it's a mental illness or simply, nature or nurture, don't want to get into that, but they simply cannot control themselves or refuse to control themselves. And that's why there is evil in the world. But again, that has been recognized in every civilization, from China to India to I keep saying the Middle East, sorry about that, the Western Asian, to the Europeans, to the Africans, to the South Americans, to the North Americans, to the Australians, literally to every civilization, every kind of culture in the world, they have recognized that there is an inherent animalistic instinct in everyone, and it has to be overcome if we are to survive.
Yeah, so it's certainly an interesting thing. I also say it would be interesting to hear sort of what Time Lords believe in. Like, that may be the one thing that's kind of missed in this episode, because you have the Doctor, and what he believes in is just the universe, the way things work. He has certain rules, and this did challenge that of, this is something that claims it was imprisoned before the universe was created. He doesn't quite understand that. If it was beyond the universe or whatever, that'd be something, but before time itself doesn't make any sense to him. But for the broader, group of the Time Lords, what did they believe in? Yeah. The closest, I think, would be the beliefs in Rassilon and Omega as the founders of Time Lord Society, doing this impossible thing of, containing the Eye of Harmony and powering the TARDISes and everything. The two of them are definitely at the top, but it's honestly a thing of like, well, what came before them? What was Gallifrey before the Time Lords, And it's entirely possible that maybe the Time Lords knew about stuff like this. And, we've had episodes in classic Doctor Who, like the Time Monster, which it wasn't a particularly good episode. It was kind of goofy, but, in that episode, it was like, well, is this creature that was, like, from beyond the universe that could, like, devour time and stuff like that. It was the weirdest friggin' episode. But it was also a master episode, so it was inherently fun, but there's all sorts of stuff like that. So I don't know. It's like that may be the one like slight thing we're missing here is just the general, what did the Time Lords believe? Yeah. But it is a little difficult without the Time Lords there and with the Doctor not having that kind of belief, basically. So, but for the rest of the episode, again, just that sort of alien kind of diehard vibe of, trying to make it through this, this facility and this difficult situation. Certainly scarier than Die Hard was, because nothing was ever chasing John McClane through the ventilation shafts, but yeah, I thought it really worked. It was a good, very spooky episode. Like, I do like when Doctor Who can make a more horrific setting, like, because if anything, I think I heard someone one time say, like, a lot of sci-fi should be horror, and even like if you go back to the original Star Trek series, it's like more than the rest of Star Trek, like Next Gen and so on. The original Star Trek series was this kind of like, body horror, creature horror, everything's like, here's an episode where Bones is being preyed upon by the salt vampire thing, and that was terrifying. Yeah. But that's what they could get away with, is like, well, we can make these creepy costume things and, and kind of work with that. And Doctor Who picks up on that a lot, probably because it was made around the same time, like a lot of the earlier episodes had that. And I like that, especially like it almost works because it's like, at this point they have some money, but they don't have a ton of money. They obviously don't have as much money as they have like right now, just in later seasons. So I like having this sort of darker atmosphere, just this sort of closer horrible, horrific thing, and just having that sort of horror atmosphere.
Yeah.
So,
now Star Trek did do a very interesting twist on the whole monster theme with Devil in the Dark, where it turns out that the monster, the Horta, the one that burrowed through solid rock, was not trying to kill the miners, but simply protecting, because it was a female, it was laying eggs, and simply trying to protect her children. And it was only when Spock, who again is only half human, he used his Vulcan side to be able to mind meld with it to say, it's not my intention to hurt you, but I must protect my brood.
Yeah, so yeah, just a lot of those, it kind of lends itself very well to sci-fi. And I guess that's just the thing with sci-fi in general, is just seeing, it's like we're going out into the universe. That's terrifying. There's an infinite amount of things that we just don't know about. I mean, even last night, we watched 65, the movie with Adam Driver, and in that movie, it kind of has that too, where it's like, well, it's kind of this sci-fi thing, and then you crash on this planet with dinosaurs, and now you have to survive with dinosaurs and stuff, and it's like, that's terrifying, so.
Now, the one thing that and I don't want to say they missed it, because the episode speaks for itself. But when he was down in the pit, and he said, because of the hieroglyphics, that someone had imprisoned the beast, but they didn't take any action on saying who those people were, because theoretically speaking, those would have been the angels, the messengers of the god, the god of light, who imprisoned the god of darkness. But again, they didn't go into that. They just said somebody imprisoned him.
And the fact that he claims that he was imprisoned before time, it's like, so what was that like? What was this civilization that rose up against you and then somehow created this planet with which to imprison you and this black hole and just keep you there? It does also make you question, why didn't they just throw him into the black hole in the first place? Now, there is something from last episode where they say the legends of this planet is that it was the bitter pill. It was a planet that was swallowed up by the black hole, and the black hole spit it out, basically. And so it's kind of implying, like, well, we can't do anything about him, but we can kind of keep him here, at least. We can imprison him with the power of the black hole. But here, they've designed it, whoever these guys were, they were clever, where it's specifically designed, if he breaks free at any point, it will just suck him into the black hole and kill him, so he can never do anything. The only thing that can prevent that is if the mind gets free. At least that's the thing that he came up with, is separating his mind from his body, basically. So yeah, but luckily Rose was able to deal with that. But even still, it's like, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot left open, and that's good. It's not like we need everything explained, but it's just, it is an interesting thing. It's like, I want to go almost more into the lore on what's going on with him. I will say also too, a good episode for Rose. Like, definitely. Yeah. Like, we talk about, and especially during Classic Who, we talked about the usefulness of companions, and at this point, towards the end of the second season for Rose, this is Rose, like, almost fully realized, like, she's got everything on lockdown. She can keep people, relatively calm and tell them, all right, here's what we need to do. Whatever we can do, we should be doing that so that we can get out of here. So, and then at the end, just like using the bolt, break the windshield, toss him out into space, and then, luckily we're all wearing seatbelts. Luckily, for some reason, this rocket has seatbelts that we gotta wear. So,
and again, just minor scientific things. the moment that window blasted open, there would have been no sound, because you can't have sound with air. Without air. The other thing, though, is who designs a spaceship that a window could be broken out of with a single shot of whatever it was? This is thing that supposedly flies through asteroid fields and things like that. So it was a little. I mean, I liked what happened. An ejection seat or something would have been more plausible, but I understand that that's what they had. So.
Yeah, it's a. We got to wrap this up. It's a good moment for Rose, and we gotta just do it, get it done, and then we go from there. So, and I mean, you can also say like, well, there's also the convenience that last episode when that whole section collapsed, that the TARDIS ended up right at this place, not only 10 miles down to where the entrance to the pit was, but then also however much further it was, the TARDIS ended up right there where the Doctor can get to it. So, I don't know, but maybe, I mean, we don't know, the TARDIS could have like maybe guided itself to get to that point. So, he really needs a remote. He needs like a come to me remote. So, although I guess no, he knew it was still down there. They couldn't drill down there because they could only drill where they were. So, other than that, I mean, there's everything with the Doctor's beliefs, and I like him saying it's why he keeps traveling. It's so that he keeps trying to understand things, but at the same time, he knows he doesn't want to understand everything, because once he does, that'll be it. That'll be the end of it. So that was interesting, and just hearing all of their beliefs, and then the interesting thing that the Beast said, that Rose will die in battle. I wonder what's...
Well, he is the father of all lies, and that's why he said, he lied to you.
Yeah. So.
But I'm sure that's a setup for something later in the season.
I mean...
Just like Bad Wolf, I mean, it was too obvious.
I mean, there's that. We're working towards the season finale. We've got 4 episodes left, I want to say. I think we've got 4 episodes left of the season. So, so we got those 4, and then we've got that as a setup. We've got another mention of Torchwood, that they are from the Torchwood archive, which is why they were sent to this planet, which is interesting. So, so there's all that kind of setup. But you got anything else?
I got nothing.
Well, I mean, because you were the one that last episode you said you had no idea where this was going. Did you? You didn't expect any of this at all?
No.
I guess here's sort of a question. I don't know if you can answer it, but in the depictions of the devil, why the horns specifically? Like, why the goat horns?
Again, I think that all goes back to primitive societies. In the Hebrew Old Testament, in the book of Genesis, the serpent is considered, but I would think the horns are simply based on the animals that are the most frightening. Since if you look at where most of the Judeo-Christian sort of religions began, those would be the strange animals there. Again, in China they had the dragons, which I'm sure must have come from dinosaur remains, things like that. The Egyptians, of course, had the jackals, the dogs, because that was part of what they had, and the crocodiles and the hippopotamus. So, I mean, it all depends on your cultures, what they're most afraid of.
I mean, like, is it specifically like that they don't like goats or something, or was it like maybe bull horns? Because maybe bulls could also, I mean, bulls can be very dangerous as well. So it's like maybe it's sort of a amalgamation of the two. Is just like, well, what are some with horns? Which, I mean, even goats could probably buck you at some point. So
Now, again, most people don't understand this, but 2,000 years ago, all the way back to 8,000 years ago, which is really kind of the beginnings of history as we understand it, the written history. Domestic animals back then were much, much different. The modern day cow, as we know it, is nothing like the auroch, which is its ancestor. The aurochs, very large horns, and of course the animals could be very deadly if you got in their way. And the idea of the curved horns, which we think of as rams and sheep and mountain goats, things like that, that may be simply a written description rather than what the animal actually looked like. Again, whenever you look at physical descriptions, whether again it's Judeo-Christian or Chinese or Indian or Vikings or whatever, you have to go back to that time to try to figure out what were the animals that were the most frightening to them at that point.
Yeah.
And just to make that point a little bit clearer, in nearly all of the depictions from, say, the 1800s on of Vikings, you always see the paintings with the Vikings with horns on their helmets. And yet, here we are in 2024. No scientist, no archaeologist has ever found a Viking helmet that had horns. So, it was written that way to make them seem fiercer, but no evidence actually exists that the Vikings wore horns on their helmet.
Yeah, I mean, because that would be... I'm going to bring my limited knowledge from what I've watched in Vinland Saga. Please, everyone, go watch Vinland Saga. It's one of the greatest shows of all time. That's my weekly ad for that. Anyway, with that, I mean, the Vikings, just the way, they would come in, burn the village, loot all its stuff, take the women, take the children, either rape them or, sell them off as slaves, or both. It's like all of that, the Vikings would have been these dangerous, evil creatures, basically. So adding the horns on top of it, it's like it's not only a guy who's 6'7" and built like a brick house and everything, but also he's got the horns on top of him as well. It's like that makes sense that you would add that on to the description even if it's not there.
And what I used to teach in my world history classes was that the Vikings were not inherently evil people. All right, they weren't even particularly. I mean, they were more warlike than the average culture. But considering where they lived, they're on the Scandinavian peninsulas: Norway, Finland, Sweden. As the Viking population began to grow, because of the limited amount of arable land, land that could be used for crops, their population began to suffer because they simply could not feed everybody. And since they were already seafarers, already knew how to go out to sea to fish, they decided, well, let's take the boats and see if we can find other land. So they came down into what was then called Jutland, is now Denmark, and down into northern Germany and France, and then over to the Great Britain, and then to Iceland, and then Greenland, and then to Canada. But the idea behind that was not, we're going to kill these people because they are inferior. It was, we have to kill these people because we need their land.
Yeah.
If they won't, but as proven by a Viking named Rollo, when they landed in far northwestern France, the people who lived there said, "Hey, listen, we've heard of your reputation. We understand that you need land, so we'll make you a deal. We will give you land. We'll let you live here if you will simply not be belligerent towards our king." So Rollo and the French king at that time, I can't even remember who he was, made a deal to allow these Northmen to live there. And so the French began literally calling them the Northmen, which later became the Normen, which later became the Normans, and living in France, their land became known as Normandy, the land of the Normans. So, I mean, you literally have to take it back step by step. You can't just come out and say the Vikings were awful people, because they weren't. It's also, and again, I hate to say this, the Europeans who came to the New World, yes, many of them were looking for converts to Christianity. They were looking for gold and wealth and fame and fortune, all that. But one of the original things they were looking for is to either escape the problems of Europe or to simply come and find a way to have land that they can cultivate and raise animals on and live there. And when they encounter what they consider an inferior culture, like the Native Americans, it seemed to them, because of their Christian religion, their Judeo-Christian backgrounds, they were told to go forth and multiply, and they are doing that. And if these indigenous people are standing in the way, then it is our right to take their land because we can develop it more like God would want us to. So, I mean, there's a whole lot of religious thought behind all that, but it really all comes down to the fact that people there are trying to preserve their own culture. And if that comes at the expense of another culture, then they didn't have any regard for that.
See, my head is like swimming with ideas of like, how do I get you to watch Vinland Saga? How do I get you to watch Vinland Saga?
I'll watch it, but we don't have to react to it. But
yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, well, there's two major things with Vinland Saga. One is it is an anime. It's not like the Count of Monte Cristo anime. It is just...
It's not Vikings in space.
No, it's just Vikings. In fact, it's one of the few anime I've seen that there's just no fantasy elements at all. It's just pure historical fiction.
Now, is it Japanese or is it Scandinavian? Do you know? European?
What do you mean?
Are the authors, are the people who created it?
The author is Japanese, but he puts in a lot of research, and there are a number of historical figures that are basically main characters.
Yeah.
The main character is Thorfinn, and it's a fictionalized version of his life, basically.
I used to teach about Thorfinn.
Yeah. The second problem is that it's not finished. The manga is not finished, and the anime itself, there's currently 48 episodes, 2 seasons worth. I just finished watching it here for the channel, and it's still really great. It's one of the best anime I've ever seen. I'm hopeful that I can pitch it to people to go watch. I know it has nothing to do with this episode, but whatever. But it's just been the thing in the back of my head. It's like, how can I get it? It's like, okay, there's an English dub. Technically, there's 2 English dubs. But I'd pick one of them. It's like, how could I convince... Because, like, I put you through the entirety of Clone Wars, and it just didn't work. So it's like,
See, here's the thing. The 3 Star Wars prequels did nothing for me. And that's why the Clone Wars anime, the series, never worked for me either. I wasn't invested in it. But having taught world history, having taught about the Vikings and the whole, I think I would be interested in that. We can watch a couple of episodes, and if you want to on our own time, we can do that. But yeah, if you're reacting to it, and yes, if he's recommending it, I would say go for it.
Yes, please, for the love of God, watch. Even if you don't watch anime, watch Vinland Saga. I can also vouch. I watched it in Japanese. There was a slight problem of hearing Norse names spoken by Japanese people. Got a little tricky, but I ended up getting used to it. It was fine. There are 2 dubs. There's one on Crunchyroll and there's one on Netflix. I think both of them are fine, whichever you watch. So any of it, just please, it's in my list. I made a list of 7 anime to watch if you don't watch any anime. Like, these are the 7 that are perfect introductions, basically. I mean, I don't know about you, but at the very least, Vinland Saga is one of them. So, and it has nothing to do with this episode.
So sorry about that. One of our famous tangents.
I mean, we were talking about the image of the goat horns and stuff like that, which does pertain to this episode. Yeah. But
and if I recall, the Aztecs, their main god, and I can't remember if it's an evil god or the one who's good, but Quetzalcoatl is literally a feathered serpent. So almost a dragon sort of thing.
Yeah.
But a flying serpent. So that's Central America. That's the kind of stuff you would see there.
And if you want an anime that talks about Central American myths, there is Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. I don't recommend it, even as a Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan. It is my least favorite of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Shows, but if you want to watch a show that sometimes talks about Central American mythology and also plays card games on motorcycles, you can watch that. Again, I don't recommend it even, because to me it is the most boring Yu-Gi-Oh! Show.
Yes, I would love to see how a person who is Japanese pronounces the name Huitzilopochtli, who was the sun god of either the Aztecs or the Mayas.
I don't know if they go that deep, but I do know that the whole plot is that there are the group of main characters. They're called signers, and they have the mark of the Crimson Dragon. And like 130 episodes in, they actually there's a mini arc where they go to I think they go to Central America, and when the Crimson Dragon appears, they call it Quetzalcoatl. So, and there's the evil earthbound immortals called Red Nova, and one of the main characters takes this, pretty much the devil of all of them, the king and devil of all of them, and puts it into a synchro monster and makes it a big dragon. So, again, I can't even recommend Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. It's so boring. So, at least the first show is fun and interesting and also includes Egyptian mythology, so... That was also the last Yu-Gi-Oh! Show to include mythologies. They kind of stopped after that and went to space and stuff, so... Anywho.
Sounds like a weekend in Xibalba. If you don't know Xibalba, look it up. Xibalba.
So, we have talked and not talked about this episode.
Okay.
So I guess we're done.
What's up next?
Next up is an episode called Love and Monsters.
Okay.
It is an interesting episode and quite infamous among the fandom.
Okay.
And I think they are so excited for us to watch it. So take that as you will, and we will get to that next time.
Next week.
But that is basically it. With all of that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist with all of our modern Doctor Who reactions, as well as another playlist with all Doctor Who reactions ever. At least on this channel. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.